please welcome my guest for this evening, DemonQueenVivi.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Whoop. Oh boy, we're all having a little bit of scuff today. First, my transitions are not behaving, and also, as folks may or may not notice, you are looking perhaps a little bit stiff tonight, Vivi. You messaged me when we were getting ready for pre-show meeting and everything, and you said tracking's not working, and we're like, well. Try turning it off and back on again, ? And if that doesn't work, we'll just do this. And here we are. And hey, this is episode 84 of Vtuber Talk. And I'll be honest, I'm surprised this doesn't happen more often because goodness knows, technology is a fickle thing. And VTubing, as many others have said, is just streaming with more steps and more potential for things to go wrong.
Yes. It's as I always say, streaming is, you gotta have your scuff. You gotta have your stuff.
Yep. One of my very first shows, I had a mini monologue of embrace the scuff, love the scuff. That it's going to happen. It's inevitable, and it's just how you deal with it, and you just have to roll with it.
Exactly. It sometimes it creates opportunities that are just kind of extra fun.
Yes, indeed. Well, I'm guessing that most folks who are in chat tonight are already familiar with you, but for anyone who might not be, and for anyone who might be watching on YouTube after the fact, hi, YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. If you could introduce yourself.
My name is DemonQueenVivi. I'm an evil demon fae from the Feywilds of Hell. Quite evil, quite terrifying. But I'm a live 2D artist. I make live 2D models. I do the art and rigging. But I just do art in general too, and we play games on my stream, and we also just kind of hang out and vibe. So
yes, you most certainly are an artist. We're going to actually be getting to that pretty soon because you've done, I think you said now 40 models.
Yeah, it's a little above that now, and I'm on my, I think it's like my 7.0 of myself as well. So it's
I remember you posted a side-by-side of all of your models. It was probably a month or so ago, in that there was like sort of a B form that you had early on, and then you started honing in on what is more or less your current form, and that you've been iterating on it from there. But one thing I did notice is that you have been slowly but surely growing, that it feels like you gain a half an inch to an inch in each iteration.
In reality, I'm just the same height. I'm just trying to make it look like I'm taller, just be a little more intimidating, but we don't know.
Don't worry. I won't tell anyone if you won't.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, your secret is safe with me and everyone in chat. Shh.
Yeah.
But yes, welcome on in. Super happy to have you. That I'm trying to remember that it's getting to the point where I used to be really, really good at remembering, oh, I first became aware of this guest from this raid or something or other. I've been aware of you for a while. If anything, I'm trying to remember, you might have followed me before I followed you. I'm not sure, but I've seen you around for a while. You are actually friends with several of my past guests. You're going to be on Red Claw's channel on Thursday, if memory serves, playing It Takes Two. And definitely looking forward to that. And like I'm just at the point where I can't actually recall where I first became aware of you, but gosh darn it, you are around, and I have seen you, and I'm so happy to finally have you on the show.
No, I'm happy to be here. I remember seeing you interview Red and a few others too, and I definitely watched a few of your interviews. Yeah.
Welcome on in, Lizzie June. See first time chatter in there, and a couple returning folks as well.
Hi guys. Hi. I know these nerds. Yeah. I see you. I send you love.
So if you are able to say, and I understand that certain projects you might be working on are going to be NDA, what is the model that you have worked on most recently that you are able to talk about?
So I've made I finished one new model, and I'm currently working on the new kind of Vivi iteration. So I just finished, it was supposed to be like a, actually I can pull it up right now. It's a TTS model of my B character. And it's mainly for when people do my TTS on my stream, it will talk and stuff for me as well.
Mm.
And so I made that, and so she's all done and nice and pretty. She's actually a character that, in lore wise, she lives inside me like a meat Gundam.
That is an incredible analogy.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense what you just said, but wow, that is certainly an analogy right there.
She lives in my face, kind of like a parasite, and controls me like a little puppet.
There's several bugs that do that, and they're freaking terrifying.
Oh yeah, they're scary. But she's very sweet. We love her. We stand for Vivi.
Yes. And you mentioned your upcoming model that is actually your current Twitter profile picture that you have teased, and you have set the debut date for that on New Year's Day, actually.
I'm trying. That's the plan. Worst case scenario, I might scoot it up a little bit if I can't get things done in time. But I'm very excited. It's a model that I've been taking a lot of time to learn a lot of new stuff that's been coming out in Live 2D, and some of the just like new things that people have been like doing, and I've just been trying to slowly get better and better. And this new model has a lot of the new stuff that I've learned, and it looks crazy good. I'm really just I was messing with it the other night, and I was like crying. I was like, this is like the best thing ever made.
Always a good sign. Always a good sign.
So it's a good sign. I'm very excited, and it's gonna be a new look, and it's gonna still have things that look similar, but there's like a new color palette and kind of.
Yeah, it's a few shades brighter, leaning a little bit more into the pinks and purples, whereas you have sort of more maroon in your current iteration.
Yeah, so I'm trying to change it up a little bit. And I feel like I really like these new colors. So I'm very excited. It's much brighter, which, like as you said, it just very excited. I'm very excited. So.
Live 2D is a more recent innovation in terms of the world of art, but where does art for you begin? That were you sketching and doodling when you were really young and got into studio art or digital art? Where does art for you as a whole begin?
I've been doing art ever since I was little. I remember my grandma was the one that got me really kind of rocking and rolling with art. She would always send me to like art programs that were going on nearby. I took a lot of classes because of her and got really, really involved and loved it. And then going into school, I didn't do it in school until high school. And I took all my high school years. I took art and I loved it. And I had a great art teacher. She got me super into it. And I did a lot of traditional stuff back then. So I did like charcoal and ink and acrylic paintings, and I was really into doing street art, so I would do street chalk art.
Ooh.
And I used to do an event through my high school in my town, and I would do that every year, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool.
At my college, chalking was a very big thing in terms of advertising on campus. That just you could walk around, you would see on sidewalks everywhere people advertising for different fundraisers or events or other functions that were being done by groups on campus. And I do have very pleasant memories that I'm not much of an artist, but chalk I can do. Yeah. And going around and being able to help do stuff like that was always very, very fun for me.
I know it's definitely a fun medium. It's just it's that kind of like, it's not permanent either, so you can just kind of go hog wild, and you have a new canvas again then another day when it's washed away, or it's super fun. I loved it. I loved it.
There's also the thing that lets me say that I bled for that particular organization, because it was just, I was crouching down on the sidewalk, going different places on campus. And at some point I was like, oh, my knee hurts a little bit. Well, of course my knee hurts. I've been crouching for the past couple hours. That's totally normal. And then at one point in time, I stand up from the latest mini mural that I had been working on with the others, look at my knee and, oh, there's just a giant hole in the knees of my jeans now, tore right through, and my knee is bleeding a little bit. Just, not bleeding everywhere, but
Yeah,
it just,
yeah.
I had actually gone and skinned my knee from the amount that I was on the sidewalk that day.
Oh god. Yeah, it's it's something you don't think about, like, especially if you're gonna do a big piece. Like you
Mhm.
gotta bring a scuffy pair of pants because you're gonna probably scuff it up, or you're gonna have some knee pads or something.
Yeah, I
I remember
became
I
very
went.
aware of it after that particular day of just, all right, if I'm going to be chalking today, bring either a pair of jeans that I don't care about, or just be a bit more mindful of how I position myself when I crouch down.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely it's one of those things where it doesn't seem like it, but you're gonna it's a lot of moving and crouching, and you're gonna
And
get a nice
sidewalks are
little like
rough.
yeah,
It's
they're
it's
rough.
asphalt. It's gonna scrape you up a little bit if you're
Yeah.
on there for a while.
You're gonna get also like a nice leg day workout too. I remember like the first couple times I did it. I remember just walking home like an old lady, just my legs started killing
It's like,
me.
oh yeah,
My
jelly
little
legs.
squat. Yeah. Oh man, no, I used to do that all the time. I loved it. We would do a competition. I would always get second.
Ah,
I remember it was one of the old students that would always come back. She was a tattoo artist, and dang her, but she was so
Oh.
cool. Her art was so good, but damn her for getting second first all the time. I
I'm
wanted
back to
first.
flex on you all.
Pretty much, but I remember one year she didn't come and I got first. And I was like, yes. But
Yeah.
we all missed her, so
Mm.
it was fun. But,
As I mentioned, Live 2D is, a pretty recent innovation in terms of art that, bluntly, it did not exist 10 years ago. I think it technically existed maybe 5-ish years ago, but if it did exist 5 years ago, it was very early days that anyone who's doing Live 2D can only have done it for a certain number of years because, while digital art has obviously been a thing for a while, Live 2D and rigging is a new medium just by nature of the technology. How did you make that leap from all the other art that you've done in the past to Live 2D? Was there something that made you particularly interested in doing that transition? Was it something of, all right, getting a commission is very expensive, so I'll do it myself? Or was that something that you saw and were like, I really want to do that?
Oh, I think it's kind of it's a little combination of that question and the question before, kind of when I started drawing. Once I got out of high school, I started doing digital art,
Mm.
and then I did that for a long time. And I used to stream actually on Picardo, doing all that stuff, and then I stopped. I did it for a couple years, and then I ended up just not doing art for like 3 or 4 years. I had transitioned since I'm trans. I was dealing with that, and I was doing a full-time job, and so I wasn't doing art. And then with all the new like VTubers kind of popping up out of the woodwork, and like Hololive getting super popular, and then seeing streamers like Iron Mouse and Nanners, and seeing like Juniper and their models and stuff. It was kind of one of those moments where I wanted to get back into doing art. I was actually going to be a tattoo artist and do an apprenticeship, but that kind of fell through with COVID.
Yeah, I was going to say 2020 put a pause to a lot of things, but in
Yeah.
doing so, also created the perfect opportunity for VTubing that
It was.
I don't think it is a stretch to say that had 2020 been a normal year, VTubers would not be as big as they are today. That I think VTubing still absolutely would have become a thing,
Yeah.
but it was also a beneficiary of being in the right place in the right time. Of a lot of people had various plans upended. A lot of people were inside and not able to go out and socialize. A lot of people were getting into streaming, and a lot of
Yeah.
people were looking for entertainment. And like I said, I'm sure VTubing would have been just fine in a normal timeline.
Yeah.
But even so, the circumstances played in its favor, and it I think is very reasonable to say that it has played favorably for just in the massive amount of growth, because your story is not an original one. VTuber Talk very much exists for essentially the same reason that I used to do. Well, I once again do a lot of convention and live event work, and 2020 rolls around, live events and conventions aren't happening, so I have a lot of free time on my hands.
Yeah, and you find ways to fill that. VTubing was a perfect opportunity. Plus, it mixed in things for like a lot of people with, including art stuff as well. A lot of artists, wanted to bring their work to life, bring other people's work to life too. So
yeah,
that's great.
The phrase "bringing art to life" is one that has existed for a while, and there has been a lot of different ways to do that in terms of be it animation or getting something up on a big screen or having it in advertising. But truly, VTubing is the most literal way of bringing art to life.
Yeah, no, it really is something unique in its own way. It's really cool.
Was your first model your own, or did you find yourself actually working on somebody else before you decided to take the plunge and create yours?
No, they're all made by me. Because when VTubers got popular, it was like, I wanted to start streaming again. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I make characters. I do character art. Let's do this. I jumped in. I actually made my very first model. I was very proud of it. I used it for about 1 or 2 streams, and I hated it.
Well,
I felt like I could have done a lot better, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I got frustrated, and so I dumped it all, and I went and made a Vroid. And I was actually 3D technically for a little bit, and then eventually I went back and made my second one, and I was much happier and kept going from there.
Yeah. Also, Skullnewt and the Lucasade, welcome in. So, had you done any 3D prior to doing that Vroid model?
No. 3D is beyond me. Vroid was a godsend. It was one of those where it's like it allowed me to have a nice kind of gateway to, getting started with VTubing, especially since I didn't really know how to properly use the programs. Because I tried to use Blender or Unity to make a model, but I was clueless. I was lost.
Yeah, Vroid is, and I sort of have an interesting relationship with all this because obviously I'm not a VTuber myself, but I hear a lot of things in that Vroid was one of the most accessible ways of getting a model because you could just use one of those stock models and do different manipulations and customizations to make it truly your own, which at that time was going to be a lot more accessible than Live 2D, which required you to have actual assets and then do rigging in a way that is, from my understanding, more complex and involved than Vroid. Whereas over time, Vroid has obviously remained as accessible as it always was, but the barrier to entry for Live 2D has lowered pretty significantly.
Yeah, no, it's nice seeing, I've been doing this for 2 years now, and seeing where Live 2D has started from there and come to now, it's much more accessible. I feel like there's a lot more tutorials and people who are willing to share their knowledge, and and a lot of people stream it too. You can watch people stream working on their models and stuff. So it's definitely a lot easier now, and I think it's a great time to get into it.
And it's just, there's so many more, frankly, artists and riggers out there that being such a new thing that back in the day, there may have been a couple dozen out there, and most of them were based in Japan at the time. So that meant if you were someone who did not speak Japanese, you were already going to have that extra barrier on top of everything else. But once that information and expertise really started to proliferate, that it's become the type of thing that different people have been able to pick up, and that it means there's so many more people out there who are able to actually provide those services. But at the same time, it's also been really cool to see so many artists who have been trying to make art their actual vocation find both, model designing and rigging as this this small industry that has really cropped up and been able to support a lot of creators. And that's another one of the really cool things about VTubing in general, that it is this self-sustaining ecosystem of creators that
Yeah.
you have streamers who need models. So that means that the artists and riggers have work, and as the streamers themselves grow, they are very likely to want updates and new versions. Meanwhile, people see the VTubers, end up getting inspired, want to become VTubers themselves or artists themselves, and that it just ends up spreading, and that so many different people get to do these different things or contribute in different ways. Or whether you're someone who does small art and wants to do like a chibi model and have that be your specialty, or someone who does emotes, that there's all these different things, and there's just so much cool stuff that people have been able to actually do and use to sustain themselves. And those opportunities didn't exist, or at least weren't as plentiful if you rewind the clock 3 years.
Yeah. No, it's crazy the amount of stuff that's changed over these couple of years. And you look at all the new stuff that's come out in just this past year of just like, now we have rebridgers, so we can have like 3D model S tracking for 2D models now, and all the stuff that Art Gun is doing, and you get to see all the crazy new just push it innovation of just animations within like live 2D of like what people are creating. It's crazy.
Yeah, just the sheer velocity of the technical side is incredible, and it's the type of thing that a year ago you wouldn't be able to imagine all the new innovations that we have now, and right now we can't imagine what we're going to have this time next year. And it's so cool to think, even though it feels like it's been forever now, that it's difficult for folks like you and me to think, oh gosh, time before VTubing. But in reality, this is all still in its infancy. Everything is still so new.
Oh yeah. It feels new, but at the same time, it feels like it feels like time it's been a very long time as well at some points.
Yeah.
But it's still very new, and there's so much stuff that's coming out, and all the people around me, and I see them making such cool shit. I love it.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I am good at many things. Art is not one of them, so I just sort of sit back and be like, wow, you all are so talented.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's kind of one of the things that I really love about what I do, and being able to stream the stuff that I make. I love getting to stream my work in progresses. It's killing me to not stream the new model that I'm making on, because I want to share all the stuff that I'm doing, but I'm trying to have like one model that I just have a debut for, but I'm like, I want to share it because it's just I love getting to inspire a lot of people, and a lot of people come in and they see the cool stuff that I'm making, or I go into someone else's stream and see what they're making, and I get inspired. It's just this constant cycle of inspiration that we're all kind of giving each other, and it's so cool to see what people are making and stuff. And there's so many new model makers coming out, and and they're making such cool stuff in their art style, or making models from other people's art styles. It's so cool. It's such a creative environment that the VTubing community has created, and I love it. Like it's thriving in it. I love it.
Speaking of style, do you consider yourself to have any, I suppose, emblematic or iconic aspects to your style? That naturally everyone's artistic style is going to be slightly different, but are there any things that you look at your stuff for and say, either I have my tendency because I enjoy doing this, that, the other, or I'm really good at this, that, the other, in terms of anything from a more detailed approach, or even just as a whole?
I think when it comes to like my style and stuff, I think it's definitely kind of it's a mix. I always say it's a mix of like anime influence, but also a lot of Western influences. So like web comics and kind of D&D influence, and one of the big influences with my style is like Warcraft and World of Warcraft and all that stuff. And I definitely tried to be a little bit more animated just so I could fit in the beginning when I first started making models. But I really didn't enjoy that. I feel like it wasn't kind of true to what I create. And so I really have been trying to hone in and get better and better with kind of bring my own style into it, which I feel like I've done very well. But now it's kind of like with the new model that I made, I'm really pushing that envelope and kind of going into a more
sort of a middle ground area.
Yeah, I feel like especially like with my textures and stuff, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more realistic in the sense of like a lot of like body tones or better rendering of of a lot of stuff of like lights and darks and color, and trying to really pull out new stuff, but also kind of stay true to what my style has been. So I'm really excited.
And for both your model style and some of your broader interests, I guess your focus or general interests seem to be centered a lot in a combination of horror and I'm trying to find the right term because your style itself is not eldritch, and you do have some eldritch aspects for sure, but I wouldn't necessarily call that your broader style. But I guess the horror, the creepy, the perhaps unsettling. I'm trying to find the best words for it here, but that I guess that you seem to enjoy exploring that space of just darker themes, darker tones, perhaps.
Yeah,
Spooky, whimsical. I like that, Skull Newt.
Yeah, it's spooky, whimsical. I will call myself out on this. I'm weird. I like weird stuff, and I like horror. Horror has always been a genre that I loved, especially with movies and shows and stuff like that. So I like adding a little spook into my art and stuff. Like, I don't go super heavy in it, but there's times where I like that. I like that kind of that creepy kind of Brothers Grimm fairy tale kind of like aspect where it's it's unsettling and creepy. But then then I have my other side of it where it's like it's just that weird goofy as well. So I definitely do lean a lot into that with some of my models where I try to make them a little goofy, and I like that.
Yeah, you know what? Let's go on over that. I'm gonna do the screen transition here and hope that OBS cooperates. Survey says, nope. Man, usually it works. That just chugged terribly. Goodness, that was like I'm not even using that much CPU. Ugh, I'm actually getting ready to finally upgrade and get a proper streaming PC. I'm excited for that because this is a very short story I've told before, but I run off of a MacBook because I got this about 6 months before I started Vtuber Talk, and I said, oh, I don't need bells and whistles or anything. I watch streams, but I don't do any video creation. I don't do any streaming. I don't need anything powerful RAM wise. Nah. And then 6 months later, Vtuber Talk happens. Oops.
Yeah. Oopsies. But hey, no, that's awesome that you get an upgrade though. That's good. Good.
But here we have your current model. I do like the signature that you have, and this is going to appear on a lot of the different pieces of, once again, leaning into sort of the horror that, I guess, is that blood or is that paint? Is that a substance of unknown origin?
Yeah, who knows? It could be a raspberry jam. Who knows?
Yeah, just you're a fae. You're out in the forest. You found some nice raspberries, and you decided to paint with them. There you go.
Exactly. See, there we go. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that is my current model, and that's that was kind of the next step into really trying to push a lot of things that I wanted to do, like better skin tones and not skin tones, skin rendering. So you get like the shines and the shadows, and really trying to add that into my models. And I like that one. Adding a little more like leaves and stuff. Some nature to there. I got some leaves on me. They look like little feathers, but they're leaves.
Yeah, I have this sort of zoomed out so it fits the little canvas I have here, but I'm going to zoom in a little bit that those are indeed eyeballs on there.
Yeah, I got my eyeballs. You know, that's kind of like going to the spooky whimsical. I'm an eye girl. I like eyes. So
All the better to see you with.
exactly. Yeah. Can't go wrong with an extra few eyes. Maybe an extra 20 eyes. You know, gotta make sure everyone's behaving themselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks in chat. Gotta make sure that you are always vigilant.
Exactly.
I always forget how large your tail is. That
Yeah.
it was when I was putting all the different art assets into this scene. I was like, oh yeah, that tail is just it almost looks like a shark tail, but extended super long. That was this design based off of any particular, I suppose, well, obviously it is a fae, but there's a lot of different iterations and representations of fae throughout history and media. Did you take certain aspects from ones that you like, or was this something more so of your own creation?
I think a lot of my beginning inspiration with her design started off with I had an old design that I had for a while that I brought back and kind of revived, and she was based off of a tiefling actually. So I got a lot of tiefling, I guess, heritage in her.
Mm,
But I love tieflings and elves, and I wanted to kind of mix that in, but also it's like a hodgepodge. It's got demon in there, and that's where the tail comes from. You know how demons they usually have like a small, skinny little tail with a little spike top like that.
yeah.
But I was like, what if I just make it really big and just have her have a chonky tail? Everyone loves the big tail, so it was definitely more kind of my own take on it. But I just want to have a little fun with it. I kind of over the years the color has been changing. I originally was like a pink instead of red, and then eventually evolved into that red, gold, black, and with the white a little bit, and then
Now you're sort of going back full circle there.
a little bit, you know, going more pink purple now this time, which is going to be a lot of fun. So
You mentioned tiefling as the inspiration, and I forget if it is original to D&D or if it's just one of the many things that D&D has picked up over the years, but I very much associate tieflings with D&D, and you mentioned that you do play yourself.
I do. I love D&D. I think a lot of influences with my art is from D&D. I love tieflings. I love it's usually the character or the race that I play in when it comes to D&D. I had a great character. It was a sorceress tiefling who was wild magic. She was a little crazy. She was a little kooky.
Yeah, I've played for several years now and hopped around to a bunch of different characters. That the way I usually design is I ask everybody else in the party to design their stuff first, and then I figure out, all right, what does the party need, and design to those ends.
Mm-hmm.
But I have definitely played a tiefling at least twice now, and I definitely remember I was a sorcerer for at least one of those, and it's a fun one for sure.
Oh yeah. So I love sorcerer, and I love wild magic. I love the chaoticness of it. It's so good.
And speaking of D&D that you had as one of your pieces, here it is. It's a cobalt design.
Yeah. So it's actually so the Cobalt is a character who was the daughter of the tiefling that I just mentioned.
Oh, okay.
Because in the campaign, the tiefling had something had happened, and they found upon it was like a hatchery of like kobolds, and there was an egg, and she took the egg and decided to raise it as her own. And so that's her child.
Yeah, because I was thinking that kobolds are generally going to be enemy characters. It's naturally possible for them to actually be player characters or whatever, because anything's possible in D&D. But you usually don't see kobolds dressed up in adventurers gear. So that was super neat to see here. And so did you end up drawing this up just for that particular campaign because you wanted to have a visual representation, or was this something that I don't know if this is one of the models that wound up getting rigged?
I actually didn't. I didn't rig this one. I was thinking about it. She was actually just. It was just kind of. I wanted to design her, and so I could have a picture of her. I actually the ones that I did rig were my goblin and my Purianti.
Admit I'm not familiar with Curianti.
It's like I think it's called Purianti.
Curianti?
Purianti.
Curianti.
They're snake people. They're snake people.
Okay.
They're super cool.
I'm familiar with like Naga, and a couple other snake variations. I've never heard that particular term.
I think they're called Yantis, and then it's like a pure blood Yanti, which is kind of more, I guess, more snake-like or something. I think I don't really know. I'm not too sure, but they're super cool, and she was my paladin.
Ooh.
Yeah, she worshipped the god Dendar, who was like the god of nightmares, I think. So she was supposed to be kind of evil, but she decided to be good instead. Her skew of evil was definitely different from her family's.
It's always fun to take characters that are based in what are perhaps stereotypically evil concepts like nightmares, and then find out, all right, how can this then be a good character, or even vice versa? That that type of paradigm shift, or putting things on their head is always fun. So how did you end up making that character use nightmares for good?
Well, she didn't really use the nightmares for good. It was more of she would have nightmares to. She was kind of foretold of crises that were about to happen, and so she wanted to go out and to. It was kind of more of like a foresight almost, to see like something bad was going to happen, and so she wanted to go out and help people and save people and stuff like that. And it was kind of against her family's wishes to be the way that she was, and so they didn't want her to be like that, but she didn't listen. She followed her sister's kind of ways, and she went off and did her own thing.
Yeah.
So she's super cool. I like her. She's fun. I made a model of her in like 2 days. I was like, I told my D&D group, I was like, I'm gonna make a model. Like, what? No, don't you have to do that? And I like did it in 2 days. Too late.
That is one of the things of people who get really good at art or really good at modeling, that they are able to just do these impulsive things that I've been fortunate enough to meet a couple other folks who are really good at modeling. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Brie at Cookie Box.
Yes, I do know Brie.
She is able to just crank different models out, and just, every so often she'll be like, oops, I made this thing. And she also suffers from the sort of syndrome you do of, I want to show off this thing I'm working on. I want to spoil the model, but I'm gonna wait.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna have this debut. I'm gonna hold it back. Shh. But I want to spoil it so badly.
Yeah. No, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. It's hard. But I've seen Bree's stuff. Bree's stuff is her model work is amazing. I love it so much. I actually recently saw her new one that she's working on. I'm very excited to see it.
Of course, she's working on a new one already, despite the fact that she had a debut like a month and a half ago. That you two again very. Oh, okay.
It's a debut of another model, and it looks really good. I'm very excited to see it.
Gotcha. Yeah, you two both do so many, and that some of the times for yourself, sometimes for others, but that's just something that you two have gotten really good at, and it's cool to see you just, obviously there's hours upon hours of work. I don't mean to minimize and say, oh yeah, you can do this in a couple of days and it's easy. No, it's very hard work, and you're able to do that at the speed you do it because you have so much practice and you have honed that skill over now several years and many hours.
Yeah, no, it definitely depends on kind of what I think at the time of like how
How
hyper-focused we
complex?
can be and how complex, and do we have the time to do that, or because sometimes I'll crank a model out super quick. Other times I try to take my time with certain other ones to make sure that they're good, and and especially with the goofy ones, I tend to do very quickly.
Mm,
For example, the potato model actually was a 2 or 3 hour model that I whipped out of nowhere, and people loved it. And it's kind of stuck. So
sometimes the
sometimes,
simple and silly ones just click.
yeah, no, they really do sometimes. So this is super fun.
Now, I am going to call you out a little bit,
No,
and that is that your file naming, Vivi, your file naming, she sends me a whole bunch of images that, we've only looked at 2 so far of over a dozen. And when I downloaded all them, I'm pretty sure all but like 2 of these file names were keyboard smashes.
you know, any artist in here listening to this or in the future, you all feel my pain. We just smash that keyboard to say whatever we're doing.
It's either that or version 1 final, actual final.
There's a lot of finals.
So I did name the different images just pretty simply here in OBS. That way I'm able to keep track of them. But at the same time, I only gave them vague descriptors. So I'm going to do my best to remember what I'm about to show. This one I just labeled as Goblin while we're on D&D stuff. Okay, yes, this one. Yeah.
Yes, my goblin gal. She was one of the models that I did rig. She's my beautiful goblin D&D lady. I love her.
And this
She was
one is you still, correct? Or is this a model for somebody else?
Oh, this was for me. This is one of my D&D characters.
Mm-hmm. The hair and ears and everything, that you still see that resemblance.
Yeah. It's she was really cool. I actually used her the 2 on the top with the little clipboard. She was my TTS for a little bit. We had her be the voice of my chat.
Mm. That's one of the, we talk about different innovations in streaming, and TTS is something I very much enjoy. And sometimes it's just simple and silly. Sometimes you see folks in chat who are able to do essentially works of art via TTS and who have figured out how to use just bits of net code to, change the speed or the volume or the pitch and create these crazy, wacky things.
There's some really fun stuff that I've seen, especially with I know Jackie was kind of one of the first people that really
Jackie's chat is still the gold standard for me of being able to engineer TTS.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I love hearing when people use the TTS on their stream. It's so funny. Oh man.
So was this goblin part of a campaign, or was this just I want to design a goblin?
It was for a campaign. It was also I wanted to make a goblin too, but actually Locke in the chat. It was going to be a character for a campaign with them and a few people.
Ooh.
Yeah. I haven't gotten a user yet, but hopefully soon.
Mm. Chronologically, when was this one made?
Oh gosh. It was I want to say I think she's a year. I think she's a little over a year old now.
Okay, so not a super recent one.
No, she's a little on the older side. She's got some some age on her.
Mm. Now, can't have D&D without. Come on, load, please. Where'd it go? Why is this not appearing? There. Oh, nope.
Oh.
Please load. Why are you not loading?
Oh, the dragon.
There we go. Dragon. Yeah.
Oh, dragon. Yeah, that's my my dragon girl OC. Her name is Anya. She's actually just canonly in my universe.
Okay, because I have several ones named Anya that I cheated on a couple of these because you have on your website some but not all of the images you sent me, and there were titles there, so I was able to figure out, all right, this is how I can label it. And that I meant to ask you before we started, who is Anya and a couple of the other names, but since we got delayed a bit with the model and rigging stuff, that I forgot to ask that. So Anya is still you.
Yeah, so Anya, well, yes and no.
Or rather,
so
Anya is another character played by you.
yes. She so I have a few characters that I kind of associate with kind of being in the same space as Vivi, and Anya was one of them, and she was a dragon OC, and she kind of is the freeloader, kind of the bully in Vivi's life. She comes over to Vivi's house and steals her food and plays her video games, kind of ordeal, unwantedly. But she's kind of a like a tired sassy dragon. I love her.
So in canon, is this dragon form Anya's true form, or is her true form the little gremlin one that you have right now, and that she can transform into a dragon?
The dragon is her true form. She does turn into a humanoid form, like the little chibi there. But I think she usually prefers the more humanoid form because she can get into places. But...
Yeah, the dragon form is just a tad unwieldy. It's not very convenient, especially if you're going to be in humanoid settlements.
Exactly. Brings a lot of attention to yourself.
It's that you mention her being a bit of a bully, and this one here, you know, I've heard of, oh, I got your nose, I got your soul.
She's stealing my souls. How dare she? I wanted her to be kind of an older sister, like kind of a butt a little bit.
I can see that.
Yeah. Oh, she's so fun. I love her.
And here we have the Anya model that you are using right now there. We still have the similar tail, but this is the sort of fluffy, furry tip tail as opposed to the spiked tail that you have for Vivi. But the sort of bushy, unkempt hair is a pretty consistent style that you have there.
Yeah, as some would call me, I am the queen of floof. I like my big fluffy hairs.
Yeah.
It's hard for me not to do big fluffy. I love it so much.
Fluffy is fun.
It is. Who doesn't like a little bit of fluff?
And this one here, this one was Anya Staring. I forget what the full title is, but this is another one that is available on your website. Oh, is there a different model for this?
Oh, no, I was sorry. I was just
sorry.
To this one. But yeah, she I did a couple of pictures of her, and that was one of them.
I like the detail of the crackling energy from the eye.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
And now having the full context of Anya also being a dragon, the arms and just I now recognize those are scales.
Yeah. So yeah, those are it was kind of my fun way of adding a bit of just a little bit of fun design with the scales. It kind of almost reminds me of someone mentioned in my chat when we were making her, kind of almost like a cookies and cream kind of look to it.
I can see that. Yeah, that you are adding literal and figurative texture to the design.
Yeah. it's kind of it's also reminiscent to the texturing I do on my arms as well for my main. I
Mhm.
have kind of that kind of a little bit of splotchy where the dark is on my arms or my legs and stuff. It's
Yeah,
almost like skin blemishes in a way.
and just the eyes as well are sort of just that type of texture that you have them haphazard is not the right term here, but that you have them scattered about, and that it adds that texture to the design.
Yeah, yeah. Get something fun to look at.
Yeah. Now we have a couple other names here. That is it, Eva or Ava?
Ava. Ava should be, I believe that's actually a commission model that I did. That is one of my beautiful 2D children, Ava Paramore. And I got to make them that model. It was a lot of fun. Once again, super floofy.
And that you have there's certain similarities to your own model here, but it just there's it's the variation that you have the horns, but instead of it being the upright ones that they're sort of curved and then go downward and out, you still have the floofy hair, but it's a little bit longer, and you have this. I think those are strawberries in there.
Yeah, they're little strawberries. They got little faces and stuff on them.
I also like the happy little bug-eyed friend here in her pocket.
You little potato.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was a potato or if it was another carrot, since it has the little green stem.
As a little potato. I love
Yeah.
it. I had a lot of fun making that, and I had a lot of like little plants and stuff on it. And it was actually, I believe that was the second commission model that I ever did. When I first was starting out.
And how far back would that be? What was the time difference between you starting to do modeling and you starting to take commissions?
I think that was not this summer, but the last summer before that. So that's about a year and a half almost now.
Okay, so it would have been about a half year between you starting doing modeling and taking commissions, because I think you mentioned earlier that you started that about 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I started doing model work and streaming back in September of 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so technically it's almost been September, October, November. So it's been like 2 years and 3 months since I've been doing all this stuff. So yeah, she would be about, I would say like a year and a half now.
All right, the CloudBot's not working, but didn't realize I hadn't actually given you a proper shout out yet, that we have the links down at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, if anybody in chat for some absurd reason is not following Vivi yet, please do correct that.
But yeah, no, she was one of the first that I got to do the commission for.
We then have Alexis.
Yeah, that's another one of my babies. That was a really fun one. That was I got to do more of a Fae route with that one.
Yeah, that definitely you can see the Fae inspiration there, and that this one is a little bit brighter, a little bit more fluffy. You have the I'm trying to, what is the proper term for that type of fairy wing that or is it just fairy wings, but that you can see
Translucent,
yeah
I think that's right.
And you have the flower crown. That this one super vibrant. You still have some of the darker purples and maroons that you really enjoy, but also dabbling into the yellows and oranges.
Yeah, no, that was I got to be a little bit more vibrant with that one, which was a lot of fun, and it was for Alexis, and they wanted a model that was kind of more on the drag inspired. So they wanted their beard, and they wanted to be very very vibrant and elegant, and it was a lot of fun to work with them.
Mm-hmm.
I And the flower crown was like, I think that was my favorite thing about I got to do for the model. That was so fun.
As someone who has no working knowledge of rigging, is rigging for wings something that is difficult, or is that similar enough to other body parts that it's not a significant difference? Or that I guess it strikes me as something that might be a different type of challenge.
It is definitely a different type of challenge. It's one of those things too where it just depends on the kind of wing that you're making, because they both they all have different types of movement and animation that they would require. So like you look at a bat wing compared to like a bug wing or something like that, it's gonna have a different movement. I've actually I can't remember exactly who had done it, but there was a really cool Batwing live 2D rigging that I saw, and it was really cool. Like it had like the flexibility, you can see it within the wing expanding, and it was crazy. It was really cool. I haven't personally gotten to do like anything in that extent besides kind of the fairy wings, but they're more kind of almost like bug-like in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it definitely is a different type of rigging.
Yeah, and you have the iconic floofy hair here, and that you then actually got to extend the floof into what is sort of a boa or a fur coat.
Yes. Yeah. Nice floofy boa. I love it. any excuse to do fluff. Any excuse.
I also that the eyes on Alexis, I think this is the first time that we've seen eyes that forgetting the anatomy of an eye, but that the not the irises, but that you have the whites of their eyes, whereas that the eyes that you have on your horns have black instead of white, and that for I think Anya had white, and it was Ava that had the black background for the eyes. Yeah. That do you, I guess, what do you use as the decision point for that? Is it just based on the broader color palette, or is it something that you experiment with? That in general, using anything but white for the eyes is, I suppose, a divergence from the norm, that most folks are gonna just have, the whites of the eyes, but they did, around half the time you go with it the other way around. So was that something that you sort of stumbled upon and said, oh, I like how that looks, and went from there? Or I guess that's something that strikes me as a bit more unique, and I'm curious where that comes from.
Well, with for example, with Ava's model, there's actually a pre-decided thing. It was part of her concept, actually.
Ooh, okay. So that they came to you and specifically requested. Yeah.
Because they had a whole reference sheet already pre-made that I got to work with. So,
and I suppose that makes sense, just because the rest of the model is so bright that you're going to want that as a contrast point.
Yeah, no, I think it really works well, especially with kind of, she wanted more of the kind of nice kind of pastel colors for her overalls and stuff like that. So it makes it pop a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It draws you up to the eyes, which is really nice. I like that, especially with how white she is.
Yeah.
And for and when it comes to like my own model being having that option, it was always kind of the reasoning behind me having the darker kind of color in my eyes is it's kind of that spooky feel. I wanted kind of that extra kind of unsettling look of just these the black eyes with the bright colors coming out, because I have a toggle that will turn that on, and my eyes will glow, and you have that kind of glow from the black, which is really cool. So that was kind of the reason for that.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, so this one, there was nothing on the file name. There wasn't anything on your website, but the name, I think it's Cilia, who's written over on the side.
Yeah,
Scylla?
so Scylla.
Scylla.
She was the pureblood Yanti that I play. She's my paladin.
Ah, okay.
So she's the snake lady. She was the model I whipped out really quickly for the D&D campaign I was doing, and she's super cool. I have it so that like her armor can be toggled on and off, so she could look more casual, and her mouth actually opens up a bit wider than a normal mouth, so it kind of like that snake unhinged.
Yeah, that snake jaw.
Yeah.
That actually, I'm gonna zoom in on this. You can sort of see with the mouth here that it extends all the way out to the sides of the face, and that you have that sort of snake-like anatomy there for the mouth.
Yeah, it was definitely at the time it was definitely more of a challenge for a mouth rigging. It was a little hard, but I figured it out, and it worked pretty well. It was a lot of fun to do. And
I can't tell if it's just a stylistic thing on this illustration or if this is one of the toggles that you had, but the one on the left, it looks like her hair is a starry sky.
Mm-hmm. That was kind of more of a stylistic choice. I used to do a lot of like the little dots to be as my highlights. And I've kind of moved away from that a little bit. That was kind of a style of choice that I had for a very long time, even before I started making models and stuff. I like doing these like little kind of starry highlights, and it may look like kind of glittery almost.
Yeah.
But eventually, I kind of slowly moved a little bit away from that. I've noticed over the course of my time, especially because I would do that in my hair. But the way I do my hair now is much different since I've learned new techniques and stuff.
As someone who is not an artist, I'll admit I'm not able to really tell the difference. So what is the difference between the way you did hair then and now?
So what's a good example? So beforehand, I used to do a lot more shell shading, and so I would do kind of some base colors and maybe a little bit of gradient, and then I would do a little bit of kind of a highlight along the edges, and then do the little highlighted dots. Would be kind of the way I would normally do it. But now, moving, especially this year, I've definitely dived more into doing much more intense like rendering for like gradients from a light to dark, and really bringing out highlights within the skins and the hair as well, doing like a proper highlight where it really pops out and looks more texturized in a way. It's just kind of it's in a way I'm learning the skills to be able to do that and to be more comfortable with that, because usually again I would just do kind of more of a simple shell shade before, but I'm trying to bring out a little bit more details. So
Locke says flavor text for hair.
pretty much, bring out that good texturing to it, and bring it more, to give it more dimension is a good way of putting it. And I've been trying to make it so that I have those dimensions, especially when it comes to like my model making. It's one of those things where I again was really very cell shade, so it was very simplistic, flat colors in certain places, and maybe a little bit of texturing, like a little bit in the face or not. But now I'm really like, for example, the new model that I just made that I'm working on for my debut, looking at the face, the amount of face textures that I have, it's like the textures alone just in the face are like about 100. It's a ridiculous amount compared to what I normally would do, which would be like maybe like 20. So there's, I'm adding that more depth to it, especially with if I do head turns, I have a shadow that pops up, or multiple shadows that really make it look almost 3D in a way.
Gotcha. Sometimes you see folks posting screenshots of Live 2D Studio, and you'll see, if they have a whole bunch of movement points, that it's just this model covered in tiny dots, or just the amount of detail that goes into these things, and especially as you become more skilled and are able to add these increased levels of detail, that numerically the number of things that you're working with does seem to increase quite quickly.
Well, I think that that's kind of the big thing for me, right? It's I've now been doing it for 2 years, and I feel a lot more comfortable and confident with my work, and I'm still, a lot of people will say that I'm fantastic at what I do and stuff, and I still feel like there's a lot that I need to learn, and so I'm always pushing myself to the next level and really trying to push it even further, and now really adding in those new textures and really adding in those shadows or those highlights that really kind of bring it more to life and in a way blur that line between 2D and 3D. I showed my mom a video of my new model. She's like, man, that looks 3D. I'm like, I know, it's crazy. I'm like, it's almost kind of shocking to myself too. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that you have put out a small short video of it, and I know exactly what you mean. That it's just the depth of it is. It's so much more than the average 2D that you have.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy what people can, not just me, but seeing some of the people that people make. It really does blur that line of like 2D and 3D, like the things that people make, and it's almost like it. What's going to be the next thing that people do and add that to kind of even push that further. We got people making like hand tracking in 2D and, making hands look 3-dimensional, being able to move around and stuff. Or, when someone moves their head almost to a full, full
just 180
turn.
degree turns of being able to look all the way left, all the way right, as opposed to just sort of swaying from side to side.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And who knows, maybe they're going to make one that's a full turnaround.
I think we're going to get there in the next year and a half, honestly, that with how far the turn radius has gotten in the past year alone, it feels like we're inevitably going to get there.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely see. It's one of those things where it's at this point, when people are doing that, it's almost like a flex. It's like,
Yeah, it's a challenge point. It's something that even the layman can recognize of, the turn radius on that thing is really good.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, I've gotten to a point where it's, especially seeing like things like hand tracking, or making hand tracking for models, or doing those full turns. It's something that I'm not too particularly interested in doing for myself, at least at this point, with how tedious and how much time it takes to do that kind of stuff. But it's always super cool to see everyone else do it. It's super cool.
Now this one I just have labeled Green Gremlin.
Green Gremlin. It might be my other 2D child. It might be Spicy's. Yeah, that's I recently made that for Spicy Bara. It was a special commission that I did for my little gremlins. I turned them into. I took their design and turned it into like this chubby gremlin child baby looking thing.
Yeah, it looks like sort of a frog, sort of a fish, just vaguely amphibious.
It definitely looks very amphibious the way that I had made it. It's supposed to be it's a shark dragon.
Okay.
But I definitely made it a little pudgier and a little bug-eyed a little bit, so it does give that. It does look like a frog. But I had a lot of fun making that.
Just a little fella.
It's just a little fella, and I made it. I actually that model I pushed the physics a little bit, so they're very squishy.
And speaking of bouncy and squishy, that you made a very fun model for yourself for the Cult of the Lamb.
I did.
That that being one of the biggest games of the year, especially in terms of non-AAA, that seeing the little hats were everywhere, but a couple folks went above and beyond like you did and made these new models in that style, because it's I guess, would it be fair to call it a mechanically simpler style than average, of just, you are working with sort of smaller, rounder, simpler shapes and just not as many pieces, perhaps?
Oh yeah, it was just such a cute style, and I love the little designs of like little outfits and stuff, and it was definitely a more kind of simplistic style, because there's that kind of flat 2D look to it. I definitely kind of did my style mix with that a little bit, which was a lot of fun. I think I whipped that model out in 6 hours just for the stream. I had a lot of fun. It definitely was a more simplistic, because like underneath that cloak, there's like pieces that aren't actually there to kind of hide.
Hey, that's what you get to do when you have the cloak of just, it's covered up anyways.
Exactly. So it worked out, and I got the kind of, in a way, kind of be able to simplify it and cut some time out of certain things, which was fun. And of course, it's very squishy, and it was a fun addition to do with the games and streams, and it was a lot of fun.
That one, like you said, it's very squishy. That when it moves around, it's just a bouncy and very expressive.
Yeah. Well, that's I like making models with a lot of expressiveness. It's kind of a goal of mine to give my models kind of that unique, just extra little oomph. Especially like when wide-eyed, or extra squishy, or physics kind of going everywhere, or all that extra goodness. It kind of just brings the models that little bit extra life, which I love.
Now, moving away from models for a moment into just some of your original pieces, that this one was called Guiding Light, and this one is of you with, I'm not sure if this is a ball of energy, a small sun, or if it's a spell being cast, but this is a really fun one of just that you have that bright glowing orb, and then the way that the light then hits the eyes in particular on your horns is really cool.
Yeah. Let's be honest, I really don't know what the ball is, but
it's cool. That's what it is.
It's cool. I thought it was a cool idea. But no, it was a fun piece that I did. Actually, I think that was pretty early on when I made that design in particular. I wanted to make a piece of her, and I wanted to kind of play around with lighting a little bit. So I really kind of tested it out with that piece, and had that kind of glow in the eyes, and have flowers kind of around her as well. It's kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? Not an ODD for I had an old picture that was kind of something similar, where it was actually one of the first pieces I had made, which was this girl holding a crystal that was glowing. So in a way, it was kind of me kind of honoring that in a way of like recreating that with this new character of mine and the new style, and kind of showing how much I have improved. And I think at this point it's been like 12 years of art, so
wow,
it was kind of a special piece for me.
That's cool, being able to go back and self-reference pieces that you've done in the past, and it's the type of thing that obviously if you don't have that story, this still just looks like a wonderful piece. But for you, that it has that additional layer of just sentimentality.
Yeah. No, it was, it was, I always find it fun to look back at my old art and compare it, especially like, for example, you brought it up a while ago, was the side by side with all of my models lined up next to each other and seeing, the first model compared to the newest one and seeing how much of a difference that I've improved upon. And it's always fun to kind of look back on that stuff.
Yeah. Now, this one very much leans into the eldritch side of everything, that in terms of the creepy and the horror, that this one really cranks it up to 11.
I think I look pretty cute in that picture. It is spooky. It is very spooky, and I wanted to kind of go into that more spooky side of it. And kind of play around with the idea that being a fey demon, what could that mean, and am I truly what I am showing you, and like what's behind the curtain kind of ordeal. So I wanted to kind of play around with that and how have that spookiness of that creepy spooky.
And you really, I feel like it's something that you see in the model you're using right now, but the resemblance of the eyes to petals, especially in this piece, that the first time I saw it, I thought those were just, glowing petals. And then you look and say, oh, nope, those are eyes. Those are eyeballs. That's a lot of eyeballs glowing and looking at me.
No, I like that. I like the fact that, people, get a certain idea what it could be, and then you get closer and you're like, oh, it kind of draws you in, and you're trapped in this, like, oh God, I gotta go. It's that, in a way, that's kind of like, how Fae work, really, right? They lure you in, or they, they capture you in a sense of, now you're trapped in this horror of like being captured, or your name is taken from you, or all that fun face shenanigans.
And I'm trying to figure out, just because the angle of everything is a bit difficult, we have a lot of teeth at play here, and I'm trying to figure out if, like, this one in the middle, I can't tell if that is your body sort of unhinging and that there is a gaping maw there, but then there's another one here in the upper right hand corner, so I'm not sure. Are these other mouths from like there's sort of these tendrils that might be extensions of the horns? That where are these teeth coming from, Vivi?
It's think of it like it's like one whole being. It's like, it's almost like, it's kind of like, what's the best thing I could say? It's like almost like a changeling, in a sense where like my body could, morphs into this crazy shape of who I truly am, that I'm hiding with this facade, or this mask, and my body is distorting and creating, it's becoming what it's truly hiding. So really, it's all part of me. It's kind of how I have my lore of the reason why I have all my models, is because I have this shape-shifting power of being able to turn into kind of anything that I want. May it be 1,000 mouths and eyes, or may it be some cute little chibi thing that's gonna lure you in and be like, oh, look at me, oh, like, give me your snack.
Lured in by the Cult of the Lamb version of, oh yes, stop by the wonderful little settlement I've created, and then later on you have this.
Yeah, reality, and then I'm actually like this horrifying creature of of teeth and eyeballs and tentacles, and next thing you know, you're being devoured, or your soul's being taken from you.
It's just a soul. It'll grow back.
Exactly. You know, and I keep them safe. It's not like I'm like doing anything weird with them. So, they're safe with me. They're safe with me.
Safe with you forever and ever and ever.
Exactly. Forever and ever and ever.
This is the last piece you sent me, but it has the most intriguing name.
Okay.
This is called The Battle of Lord Applejack and the Fae. And
Yes,
once again have the very spooky final boss Eldritch version of Vivi here with the extra eyes on your main face, plus you can see the horns here, but then also that it seems to be in this realm that is entirely comprised of these extra large eyeballs. And we have here presumably this knightly demon slayer, fae slayer character who I assume is Lord Applejack. Who is Lord Applejack?
Lord Applejack is Lord Athelstein.
Oh,
But there's actually a funny story. I was streaming one day and Lord Athelstein, aka Lord Applejack, came into my stream and he was doing something about seeing if people can actually say his name properly and stuff like that. And I really knew who he was, and I didn't want to make a big deal about it because he's one of my big idols, but and inspirations. And I played it off. I didn't say his name, but he was trying to get me to coax his name out. And eventually, I said his name wrong, and then it progressed into Isabella, actually in the chat right now, had said Lord Applejack, and it stuck with me, and I kept calling him Lord Applejack.
and there you go.
So,
Yes, Isabella Ooze, I see you in there, slaps the hood of Vtuber model. This baby can go from 0 to 180 in 60 seconds.
but yeah, I wanted to draw him a picture, so I drew him kind of like a Dark Souls boss kind of esque. So
yeah, the sort of you always have that sort of stereotypical the hero fighting the dragon or the big monster. I sort of got Sleeping Beauty vibes of the prince going up against the dragon form of Maleficent. But now that you say Dark Souls, I see that as well, and that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. No, I definitely like that, and I like being the villain. I like being the bad guy. I don't want to be the hero, but I get to be the cool ass bad guy, the big old.
Bad guys always get better dialogue, better music.
Exactly. And I get a cool like final boss stage and maybe my own personal music. Like, it's pretty cool. I think it's a good deal.
Now, did you end up making this on that stream, or was this then a couple days afterwards?
I was a couple days afterwards. It was kind of my appreciation to him. I wanted to draw and pick. So I had a lot of fun doing it. And plus, I wanted to draw something spooky and creepy too. So I got the opportunity to make myself into the final boss.
Yeah. I know in terms of anime that you enjoy, it was Demon Slayer. I forget if you've seen Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love Jujutsu Kaisen. Actually, the movie had just came out.
Ooh, I still haven't seen the movie.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I highly recommend.
But the way the eyes are here, it sort of makes me think of the domain expansion of that. This is Vivi's domain.
Oh, yeah. I like that. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, because that you can still see the eyes that are part of the horns here, but then just the entire background, that it seems that the entire area is just encapsulated or otherwise occupied by these other giant eyes that are super similar to the ones that you have on the horns. So it made me sort of think of that, or just, a mini dimension essentially that, write whatever lore you want for it. But once again, what is it? It's cool.
It's cool. It's one of those words like, you stepped in my realm, how dare you.
You're in the wrong neighborhood.
You're in the wrong neighborhood. Exactly, exactly.
Mm. Well, that brings us to the end of the pieces that you sent me. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 pieces. Ooh. And obviously, this is just a taste of your artistic ability. But thank you so much for sending all these over. That it's always fun, especially like I said, as someone who's just not very skilled in art, to be able to appreciate and ask these questions. And sometimes I'm able to be eloquent with them, sometimes I'm really not. But it's cool to hear about these different pieces and just the stories behind them. Of we had this case of Lord Athelstan being Lord Applejack, or finding out, all right, you have Anya, who is this extra, the big sis character, the bully character.
Yeah, yeah.
And then going into the ones with D&D. That are you actually in any D&D campaigns right now, come to think of it?
I am in one currently, but we're on hold right now.
Mm.
And that's the one that I'm playing, my Pure Blood Yanti.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring us back to the main screen and see if the transition wants to work this time. I'm not optimistic. It's been... Nope. That's so strange. What the...
It's one of those days. It's one of those days.
One of those days that... I wonder if it might be from the new update that fortunately VTuber Talk is built from cardboard and duct tape. That I don't have a lot of super fancy assets. That transition is one of the more heavy duty things. And usually it works, but this week and last week, I've had days when it's chugged. It's just outright failed tonight and last week. So that's making me think, okay, something else might be a play. I might need to figure something out. But, well, knock on wood, at least the stream's still okay.
Yeah, no, that's what matters. Oh, that's what matters. That's what matters.
As I double check, yes, we are still live. Cool. Yay.
That panic of, oh God, did I?
Has it actually crashed? Yes. So hopping from, the horror style for your own art, we mentioned Jujutsu Kaisen. So there's, I guess, of horror anime that, we have Demon Slayer, there's Chainsaw Man, which is currently airing. And if you want to talk art, that the art in Chainsaw Man, whew.
Oh, it's so good. I love the mixture between the 3D and the 2D, and then I forget the name of it, but it's I think it's the real motion. I forget what it was called. It's a certain name for it, but they
is it
do it so
rotoscoping?
Well. Rotoscoping, yeah. That is just, it's so good. It's so good. Because I'm not usually into anime that has that 3D style to it. At least I haven't seen too many ones that I've enjoyed. But getting to see one that really does it well, it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, that Studio Mappa, the one that they've done the most recent season of Attack on Titan. Farther back, they did Yuri on Ice. They have really established themselves as one of the big names for quality in anime over the last several years.
Oh yeah, no, their stuff's good. Like I've seen Yuri on Ice too, and that they did a phenomenal job on that. That was one of my favorites. It's really good.
Demon Slayer, then, on the other hand, also has its own style, and that one's Studio Ufotable, which apparently got its name because the meeting that they had when they first made the company, that they were sitting at a table that happened to look like a UFO.
Oh,
and that's just how they got Studio Ufotable or Ufotable. I forget the exact pronunciation. There is some pronunciation, but yeah, it's just based on the table they happened to be sitting at when they formed the company.
Oh, that's really cool. Huh. I didn't know that.
With Demon Slayer, they have, the water and the fire, I think, are the two really iconic pieces there. That it's just, it's already a very pretty series, but I don't know what the proper term is for what they do with the water and the fire. That it looks almost lower quality in terms of it having the very thick lines and everything. That
Well,
it's more stylized, perhaps.
yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. Is it's very stylized, and
But the contrast is just ooh,
it's so good. It's that whole anime is crazy. That the animation mixed with the music and stuff, it's phenomenal. It's probably the top anime for me. I still to this day I watch that scene in the first season where he fights the spider kid, and you get that, they get the music and he's trying to defeat this impossible character, and it pumps you up, and you're just like on the edge of your seat. It's just so good. It gives you goosebumps.
yeah. And with the second season, the Entertainment District arc, that they were working with movie level quality week in and week out, and it was just they were operating on a different plane of existence, quite frankly, with what they were doing. And I think I mentioned this to you when we spoke earlier in the week, that I was watching that being like, this is incredible. I hope the artists are being treated well.
I really hope so. It's once you take a step back, you just kind of think about like, oh shit, someone had to make that, and I hope they're okay. I hope they got plenty of sleep and rest while they were doing it. Oh man. Yeah, and even the movie too. The movie was I love the movie. I think the first part of the movie wasn't my particular favorite, but the ending where Rengoku fights the
it was definitely a show in 3 acts, where you have that sort of exploration of the mind, you have the train fight, and then you have the fight.
And that fight is crazy. Rengoku was my favorite character from the anime, and still is. I love that boy. So seeing that scene was just so good. So good. I don't want to spoil anything in case people haven't seen it, but I loved it.
It is one of the few shonen anime films where the film is actually just part of the story. It's not some side story thing. It's not some, technically not in timeline or supplemental thing that, there's the One Piece movies, and the One Piece movies generally aren't going to have a big impact on the plot at hand. Same thing with, the Pokemon movies, Naruto. That's just how shonen movies work, that they are big, fun spectacles, and they are big and they are fun, but they're not meant to be part of the broader narrative because they're supposed to be super accessible, that anybody who might not be familiar with the series can just go to the movie, be like, ooh, this is super cool, and then get into the main show from there. That is not the case with the Demon Slayer movie. The Demon Slayer movie happens in canon, in timeline between seasons 1 and 2. And it's the type of thing that if you jump into season 2 having not seen the movie, you will be very, very confused.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where it is a very important thing to watch for the next season, and it really, and I think it really resonates with that second season of what happens and stuff like that too. So it was really good. It was good. And just the characters too, like even just the side characters or the characters we don't see too much, or all of the higher ups too. Each one of them, it has such an impactful part into the stories and the screen time they have, and it's all just it's all good.
Good series. Go watch Demon Slayer, folks.
Please do. It's really good.
It's just between that and Chainsaw Man, I feel like there's been a good number of series in the past couple of years that have had just incredible amounts of hype and anticipation attached to them. And frankly, so many of them have actually just delivered. That, there is such a thing as overhyped, but at the same time, you look at Demon Slayer, you look at My Hero Academia, and you say, yeah, they're just really, really good. They deserve the hype that they get. And it's nice to have stuff like that because, sometimes it is overhyped and you go and it's like, oh, okay, this is fine. But we're definitely spoiled for quality and choice right now in terms of, I would say, not just anime, but entertainment as a whole, that we have an embarrassment of riches. That it used to be, you know, for anime at least, that you would go to your local Blockbuster, hope that they maybe have a VHS or DVD that had 4 episodes on it,
Yeah.
and you were happy with it if you could get that. And
Yeah.
now there's so much anime that is being put out accessibly, legally, and that you can get it usually same day as Japan, if you're using, whether it be Crunchyroll, Hulu, High Dive, and you can't keep up with all of it anymore. That it used to be that you would hope that there might be a dub of a series that you liked, and there'd be a couple a year, and that they would be getting to you 6 to 12 months after Japan. But now it's, same day or next day, and you can no longer keep up with that because there's just so much, and it's exciting and happy, and it's also, I wish I could keep up with it all, but I'd rather have this problem than the problem that we had 20 years ago.
No, I think we definitely are very spoiled in our time with all the good entertainment stuff that's come out, with not just anime, but like games or
VTubers and streams, and just, like I said, this is episode 84 of Vtuber Talk, and for the first 20 or so guests that I would try and make a point of, popping on everyone's stream, at least once a week for a couple minutes. I can't do that anymore. I cannot do that anymore. It doesn't work.
No, there's so many of us, and I think, as the years go on, there's going to be a continuous more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The more accessible this medium becomes, and the more excited, or the more people that want to do it, it's going to continue to grow. So it's definitely, I know our kind of our golden age of VTubing was a lot of last year, but I still think we're kind of still in that cusp of getting, more.
I don't think we've actually hit the golden age yet.
No.
I think that we've had the first age of VTubing, and that we've discussed already about just the technological differences between now and even a year ago, and nostalgia always is going to tint things, and there's certainly something to be said for the pioneers, for the first folks to do it, to really set the standard and to act as that vanguard and inspiration. Like you said, that there's so many people that have inspired and continue to inspire VTubers, and that we now have this next generation, which is inspiring the next, and so on and so forth. But I feel like we've definitely entered the second age. I don't know if we have entered VTubing's golden age yet. That I think that we're going to see a real golden age, frankly, in the next year or two. That now so. That sort of just, there's so much moving and shaking in the beginning for a medium and a community like this, and things happen so quickly and change so much. And I feel like just now, the technology is, as we've said, so much more accessible, but also the technology has been refined. We are now able to actually do head turns and things of that nature, and that different programs, whether you have Video Ninja or Live 2D Studio, that's been putting out these incredible updates, and I forget who it is that just put out a public beta for a special video room that is going to hopefully allow more models. I forget who.
I did see that.
I don't think it's Live 2D Studio. I could be wrong. Not sure. But
I don't remember.
The bottom line being that we are now, the dust is sort of settling, and I'm sure we are going to continue to have many changes and innovations over time, but the fact that things are truly solidifying now, and it's no longer just Wild West things being sort of propped up with the cardboard and duct tape for the first time, but that we're now really having these sort of established standards, established technology, and that people are able to actually now have going on 3 years of experience in this, and that there's so many creators who have started small, gotten bigger, and that whole both establishing themselves and learning about themselves, and that now I think folks are really actually just becoming more comfortable and more experienced and being able to leverage that experience combined with the more established and stronger technology. That I think in the next year or two, we're going to really see, like you said, sort of a golden age in terms of what are people truly, truly capable of.
Yeah. No, I would really love that. We have so much cool stuff yet. I think you're right though. I think we are going to advance it further in the next year, and it's going to be really cool to see what comes out from it. There's a lot of really cool. I'm sure there's a lot of really cool stuff being in development that we probably don't even know about.
Yeah, like I said, we couldn't imagine where we are right now a year ago, and we can't imagine where we'll be a year from now right now.
Yeah. No, it seriously, it's it's one of those things where I mentioned it before, where like Art Gun made the the V-Bridgers, like that kind of that really upped the game for.
I know who the Art Gun is. What is the Rebridger?
V-Bridger is the program that they created. It was it's to bring the AR kit tracking from like programs for like 3D modeling, to be able to have proper tracking that is up to par to that to a 2D model. So it allows you to do like more kind of in-depth mouth tracking or certain eye tracking, or really kind of push it a little bit further, which is really it's crazy. It's like when I first started that having that advancement within just 2 years is crazy. It's cool.
Yeah, one of the other big innovations, both tech and art combined, is the creation of contiguous 3D spaces. That I've seen a couple folks who have used Unity to create their own fully inhabitable 3D spaces. Duper, who is a former guest of this very show, actually just this past week unveiled a whole new set that he said he no longer has scenes, that it is now one big scene, that he has a camera that moves around this sort of arcade bedroom area, and that one of basic the standards of the idea of all right, I have my OBS scenes, and the fact of that being just broken and done away with conceptually is huge.
No, it's huge. It's crazy. Even I've seen I think it was Pumpkin Potion.
Yeah, that she's one of the ones that is used Unity to create a full inhabitable 3D space.
Yeah, no, that stuff it's insane. It's so cool.
And right now,
it's so cool.
And right now, that's one of those things that has the very high barrier to entry, that you need this very specified technology or expertise. But similar to Live 2D, I expect that within the next couple of years, that's going to become much more accessible, much more commonplace.
No, I think it will be. I think a lot of people will have a shift to having something where they have their own space that's kind of correlated to their character, or whatever their theme is, or all that stuff. And I feel like I think 2D will always have a special place, and I think in my heart 2D is a little bit more, I don't want to say superior, but I think it's more stylized than what I like when it comes to VTubing.
Yeah,
but I feel like
3D is a difficult space to work in if it's not refined.
Yeah, and I think the more we go on, I think 3D will be very defined, and I think that'll become kind of a big step when it comes to, like, you know, if VR continues to, you know, improve, and, you know, we get more scenes like with pumpkin potions kind of stuff and dupers things, and, you know, having that 3D space where you can have those interactions where chat can interact with that space while you're in there and all that stuff. I think that is going to be huge. May it be a couple of years or how long that may be. I think it's huge. Cab always kind of talked about that a lot.
Yeah, and you mentioned the chat interaction. I'm not sure if you saw Nyanners had a debut recently.
I did.
And
I love
she
that.
gamified it in that. The guy who does a lot of the back end tech for VShojo is he goes by Fuji.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I mentioned at the top of the show, Desert Bus for Hope, the big charity marathon. I knew of Fuji several years back because he is the tech lead at Desert Bus for Hope. He is now employed by VShojo, who still does a lot for Desert Bus. That it is obviously, you know, that is a charity operation that's never been his paying day job. But when I saw Fuji pop up in the VTuber community, I get to sort of say I knew already. I was like, okay, this guy is a tech wizard, and he's already pulling his wizardry over at VShojo. That he helped whip up this subtitling plugin for Nazuna's debut in like 2 days, and that he propped up what is this? It was pretty much, I think, Final Fantasy VII interface for folks who might not have seen it. That chat was inputting commands, and it was just, you know, for 10 seconds, whichever had the highest number of inputs, that was the action that the chat party took to fight this big end boss that was Nyanners. And the fact that you have that type of interaction, and even things as simple as the being able to use the Twitch integrated throwing system, or being able to drop emotes or have them appear on screen, that the fact that VTubers are existing in the virtual space, VTubers have access inherently to so many, just there's so much extra potential when you're not constrained by the laws of reality, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, there's it's so interesting, and it's so cool, and it's so interesting to see what will come from that in the future of new things that are added to that. Because it's you know, it's that having these things to be able to interact with the streamer, and that, you know, the 2D or 3D model being able to throw shit at you, or or, you know, have the interaction of, you know, what Nyanners did. It kind of brings that kind of, it lets you step into that realm of that 2D model.
Yeah.
Really cool.
And there's always a big difference between a first iteration and when the public gets its hands on it, because, you know, you had you know, for the Twitch integrated throwing system, that you had the sort of standard things that would be thrown, but once people got their hands on it and were able to do mods of it and have either custom assets that could be thrown at them, or just when people are able to actually get that accessibility, and it's not just the first iteration, that's when all the new creativity comes in, because you now have this new system, this new tool, and just with as many people as you have, as many creative people, that someone's going to think of something and find a twist, find a mod, or just to do something that will create a trend there, and that you ended up having just certain things like you know, even in terms of emotes, the Wiggly, the Poplio Wiggly emote, which I don't know who started that. I remember I had the Wiggly emote on, it was like my 5th or 6th episode, because the guest that week had shown it to me, and I was like, this is the cutest thing ever. And sure enough, within a month, you were starting to see that emote pop up, but then you had variations of, okay, folks are going to have those Wiggly emotes that look like them. And it's become, you know, I talk about artists and being able to have that as just a little industry with even emotes, that there are folks who do specifically commissions for Poplio Wiggly emotes.
Yeah, no, it's creating this space, and we talked about this a little bit before. It's creating this space of just very healthy space for creativity, right? You have all these people who are making these fun and cool things, and trends will pop up of like the Wigglies, or and also the Snoms, the Pokemon Snoms popping up
Yeah.
too, and it's creating a space for artists to really flex their muscles and stuff like that, of creating these kind of fun little things and assets for streamers. It's awesome. I love it.
And just for what we see now of that type of going back to Neanders, of being able to have that little combat scene of
Yeah.
that was made specifically for that debut, but if that tech isn't released publicly, someone's just going to recreate it from the ground up, and
sure.
that inevitably, my guess is within 6 months, that will be at least semi-accessible by the broader public. And then what are people going to do with that?
It's what's the next step in the creative, in the creativity of what people are going to do with it. It's fun to see the evolution of it. Who knows what's, goes back to, again, the stuff we've been talking about. Who knows what's going to be like in a year or two of what people are going to make. It's going to be, people might expand upon what Nanos did, like you said, and do something even crazier.
If you had the time, money, and skill to create any tool you wanted for VTubing, what would you want to make? Or what would you want to see made?
For VTubing?
Or or if there's or if it would be something for a broader use for art or anything of that nature, what type of tool, what type of creative tool would you like to see made? That what's something that you really want to be able to have access to yourself?
Have access to myself for my models. I really don't know, to be honest. Probably something to make it easier to rig stuff, probably, so that time-wise it could be easier, but I don't particularly know. There's already so many things that I haven't even learned yet.
Is there anything that you would want to be able to do on screen? Whether it be something that the model has the ability to do, or some other tool like TITS, or like the combat system that you would be able to use as part of your streams.
I think something that I would enjoy is a way to make it so that it's easier and more just streamlined, and like, for example, like having the model react to things from chat. So like having, instead of like hotkeys, having it so that there's some integration where chat can toggle things on your model, or they can toggle an effect, or you change in some way, and all that stuff. I feel like, at least from my knowledge, I don't know any good ways other than having a program toggle on for you with a hotkey that's on your keyboard. But having something like integrated within like VTube Studios, where
it could connect to a channel point redeem, and it's not, all right, you see point redeem in chat and then you hit the hotkey to implement it, but that it would be directly hooked up to Twitch chat and be able to immediately actually activate off of that.
Yeah, something like that. Because like, from what I know, from the knowledge that I know, the knowledge pool that I know, is that you can have like a program that you can like create a channel redeem that will make it so that it will, it will automatically click like Shift Z and turn on something for you. But it would be nice if it was just like, it's just like someone chooses the points, it's like, okay, turns on the toggle. Like something like that would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
So that I don't have the issue of like, if I'm playing a game and they hit a hotkey or if I'm working on, my program, and they hit a hotkey that does something to my program as well. It's so annoying.
Yeah. Now that you mention, especially for if you're, playing game or, even if you're doing art, that you might have that hotkey for something in your art program.
Yeah.
So to have it directly hooked up there, it,
Could cause some issues. Especially if I'm working on live 2D and if I have that hooked up and the hotkey locks all my files and it's just like, oh my God.
Chat, what have you done? You just deleted that layer.
Yeah, please don't chat now. I think that would be kind of the thing that I would really enjoy, because it could open up a lot of easy access to a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I don't really know.
Yeah, and that's
what I really
some of
want
it that
right
we
now.
just literally can't imagine it right now. We don't necessarily even know what we want or need, and it's the type of thing that some of these things get made, and it's like, how did I not know that I wanted this before? Like things I never knew I wanted, or how did we exist before we had this technology? And that's part of that creative and innovative process.
Yeah. So it'd be crazy. I think going over and beyond, we somehow find a way to have live 2D so advanced to the point where we can do those full turns smoothly without having to spend hours and hours trying to get a full body turn, and having that connected to a VR base stations, and being able to move around and wiggle around like a 3D model. But at that point, it's like, well, just get a 3D model.
Yeah, where's the line drawn technologically of it's just easier to actually do a VR rig?
Yeah. No, it's one of those things that I've talked a little bit about with some people, is where I think live 2D with the 2D models, the 2D models have such a charm to them that 3D, they're 3D and 2D are so different in that where 2D, you can really morph something, I feel like, to a style so easily, where with 3D it takes a little bit more effort, and you may not get the same results that you want, or all that stuff. But 2D, you can really, I feel like you can fine tune a lot of things. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to it, but it's so easier to do stuff that you want it to look a certain way, and so you can have it.
Well, it's one less dimension to work with. That
Exactly.
it is in terms of just the sheer quantity of aspects that need to be manipulated.
Yeah.
It is less pieces.
Exactly. So I feel like you have a little bit more flexibility with what you want to do.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned games, and we haven't even talked games much at all. I suppose, well, D&D. You mentioned playing games on stream, that you do enjoy a bit of horror naturally there as well. You told me that Dead Space is actually one of your favorite games.
Yeah, growing up, it was when it first came out, I was so excited, and it was one of my favorite horror games coming, growing up, and getting to see that it's getting a remake. I'm really excited, and we're currently playing through the first one over again on my stream on Halloween.
Is there
night,
anything
actually.
particular about its design that really clicked with you, or was it something that just was sort of in the right place at the right time and now occupies a particular area of nostalgia?
I think it's a lot of nostalgia, but I think it's also it's a really solid horror game where it's got that spooky aspects, and it's kind of that space sci-fi horror, and I love Aliens, the horror, the horror movie. I love those, and it kind of gives me that kind of feel in that game a bit more, but with almost like aliens mixed with zombies in a way, or mutations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy that, and it's kind of weird to say about this is fun to play. Have fun with it.
Shocker. A game that's fun to play? Who ever heard of such a thing?
Sheesh. and not just horror though. I really, I really like other stuff too. Whereas like I love MMOs, and
Now, I know you were on the Final Fantasy 14 bandwagon.
I was for a long time. I played a shit ton of Final Fantasy. I think I have about like 1,600 hours in it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
Now
quite
you
a
say
bit.
was past tense.
I haven't been playing it too much. I've been kind of dabbling here and there back into it. I definitely had my addicted phase. But since now I've been kind of getting back in my art, I haven't really been playing too many MMOs as of late, because I tend to go ham in MMOs. I love MMOs. They're my favorite. I'm actually really excited about Ashes of Creations. I've been following that for a while.
I've not actually heard of Ashes of Creations.
It's pretty cool. It's super. I would suggest looking into it. It's really cool. It's like almost like it's one of those MMOs where it's like a sandbox but community driven. So like you have these towns, and depending on what quests you do or the interactions with everybody in the game depends on what towns are evolved and all this stuff. And it's got I think they just are doing everything in Unreal 5 now, and they have like such crazy cool graphics looking stuff going on for it. So it's very ambitious. So we'll see how it turns out. But I got to play the alpha beta for that, and it was really cool. I really liked it.
So, I guess, is the setting for that supposed to be more of a fantasy world, or is it?
It's like high fantasy. There's like fantasy races and magic and and all that good stuff, and yeah, it's good. It's good. I liked it.
What type of character were you playing in it?
I played they didn't have many races to begin with. I think they had humans, and I believe they had dwarves. I don't remember. I just remember being a human, and I got to be a wizard. They let you they just released a wizard in the alpha, and I got to like pew it up. It was really cool. They had really cool effects with the wands and stuff that I really enjoyed. I really felt really cool to shoot spells for your wand. So I was really hyped for that. That was really cool. But they have other stuff too that they're eventually gonna do, like a whole crafting system where you go out and chop down trees and all that fun stuff. And they promise a really cool housing system that I'm excited. I love housing stuff. I love decorating. As an artist,
MMO housing is such an interesting.
It's so good.
I don't even know how to describe it, because I forget who it was that walked me through the sheer insanity of the Final Fantasy 14 housing system and
don't even get me started on that.
the sort of history therein.
It's so good. I think that's the most time that I spent in that game is doing Final Fantasy housing. I loved it. And what was fun is finding all the little loopholes of how to I guess maybe glitch is the right word, but glitch certain things to make certain pieces, or how to glitch a window to a wall piece and make it look super interesting and cool, and designing it, and there's so many cool things you can do with housing in Final Fantasy 14. I loved it. I used to do commissions. Some people would commission me to do housing.
To be, you were a professional interior decorator.
I was. It was cool. I did a couple. It was fun. They give you a theme, and you would try to find pieces that would work with that, and develop a room for them and stuff. It was so fun.
Animal Crossing literally made a sub game out of it.
Yeah. No, Animal Crossing was one of those ones that was just so. It was relaxing because it tickled that decorating side of me that I love, and I love that aspect of games. like especially with like any MMO that has that, or any game that has some sort of, you know, base building or decorating or stuff like that. Like right now I'm playing Subnautica on my stream, and I'm having fun like building my little base underwater and finding like a nice place to build it, so you have nice scenery, and you know, have a nice place to expand, and all the little decorations inside, and you know, making it look a certain way, making it look nice, and all that fun stuff.
It has been really cool to see the genre of just building and decorating become a thing that obviously you have Minecraft, which is just sort of the ultimate sandbox. But at the same time, I look at Animal Crossing and it's really, that's Nintendo's sandbox. There's Zen Garden that you're able to customize everything from your house. And now, especially with New Horizons, the fact that you can terraform the entire island and just make it whatever you want. But even having, like you said, in Final Fantasy XIV, where that is obviously not the main part of the game, but you still have this extra area, and that developers and gamers alike have realized that design space is something that people enjoy.
Yeah, no, it tickles a lot of people's, like, they like it. It's in a way I find it very calming. I think for a lot of people it's the same, whereas you get to kind of flex that creativity side of yourself and, you know, make things pretty, or make things, you know, crazy or chaotic, or very, you know, very refined or particular in a certain order of how it should look. And I think it's so open-ended in what you can do with it, that I think just people just really enjoy that stuff.
Do you find that you have any either design tendencies or styles when it comes to that sort of interior decorating, be it in Final Fantasy XIV or something like Animal Crossing, that when you're making a room, when you're doing that interior designing, do you have some either just a broader style of how you approach things, or even something as simple as, you know, a favorite set of furniture?
I think it kind of ties into like just how I like, you know, my dream home is a cluttered cabin in a wood somewhere. But I like having a very, not like super like a cluttered room that's full of things and, you know, knickknacks of, like, you know, things, you know, a wall isn't just empty. It's like it's got a bunch of pictures, or, you know, you got like a table with plants all over it. You know, it's the room feels very full.
You like space to be used.
I like space being used. I like that, and I like when it comes to a lot of my decorating. I like having a lot of plants. I'm a big plant lover. I love. I have I used to have a lot more, but I have like house plants in my room and stuff, and kind of bring that little bit of nature in there. You know, it's always good. I love that.
I am not somebody who has plants, and this is partially because I have seasonal allergies, and that bringing things that generate any amount of pollen into my living space is just not smart for me. But I know a lot of folks who really enjoy having plants, and from what I hear, they multiply. Of you start with one plant, and I'll buy another one. I'll buy another one. And then you suddenly realize, oh dear, my room is overrun with these things.
Yep. That's usually the case. Get that plant addiction.
How many plants do you have in the room that you are currently sitting in?
Currently, I have 2. So I have
just 2. That's totally manageable.
Yeah, it's not bad. I have 2 big kind of like ivy plants that I have. One that's kind of above my desk, and then I have one on my bookshelf. I kind of, because I recently moved, so I decided to get rid of some, and I opted for some. I don't like it. I like them, but I like the real stuff. But I have some fake plants around too that kind of less things to have to take care of, but they look pretty still.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned actually when you were discussing having all the knickknacks that you described it as a cabin in the woods, which I also know is one of, if not your favorite horror films.
Oh yeah, Cabin in the Woods is good. That's like, if anybody wants to watch like just a good horror film that just encompasses horror in general and just showcases it so well, Cabin in the Woods is definitely like, it's top tier horror. It's just so good. It doesn't take itself seriously, and it just
It is very meta.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. No, it's self-conscious of itself, and it has all the horror tropes, and it has all that good stuff, and it's such a fun watch. It's one of those horror films where you can at least have, like, even if you're like a scaredy.
Oh yeah, that I do not like horror. I saw Cabin in the Woods because enough people that I trust said this is not a horror film. This is a deconstruction of horror films and half comedy at that. Yeah. And this is not a spoiler because it is revealed in the opening sequence of the film, the first 5 minutes of the film. The whole thing is a setup that the characters that are going to this cabin in the woods are being railroaded by this mysterious laboratory, effectively, of folks that are engineering horror film scenarios. There are spoilers that I couldn't do, and I won't talk about that, but that is that reveal is the first 5 minutes, and that is the premise of Cabin in the Woods, of just engineered horror film scenarios. And that it is just, you can tell the people who wrote and produced that film meant it to be a love letter to the genre. That it's tongue in cheek, and it's mocking it a little bit, but it is mocking it so lovingly.
Yeah, no, exactly. It is like a, would it be like an oddity, or it's just, it is a celebration. It's like a celebration of horror. It's to appreciate it and to show love to the genre itself and the things that have come from it, and how, in a way, we are the people who are, engineering the horror and all that stuff. It's so interesting, and it's so fun.
And it's hard to believe. I think that came out about 10 years ago now.
Yeah. It's I'm getting old. It's been out for a while. Because I watched that in my, I did a horror film class in college. And I remember our professor he was in love with that movie. He made sure that we all watched it and we talked about it. It was good.
If you were going to be doing a film class and couldn't use Cabin in the Woods, what film would you say that your students have to see?
I would say, I think a film that is one of my favorites is, and I always recommend this to people, is Cloud Atlas. I don't know if many people have seen that.
I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
It's good. It's kind of a long movie, but it's one of those where it's got such an interesting concept, and it's about reincarnation and meeting the people around you in another life. May it be loved ones, or just people who are close to you, or just people around you. And it kind of follows these different characters through different timelines of who they are and how they're interacting with these group of people. And there's a subplot, but there's a main plot, and there's just it's super interesting. I really recommend it.
And for clarification, this one is not a horror film.
It's not horror. No, it's not horror. If you want horror, oh gosh, what would I recommend? I would recommend. What's another good horror film?
I'll modify the question slightly.
I can recommend the what?
I'll modify the question slightly. Instead of one that you're looking to recommend to others, what is, for lack of a better term, your comfort horror film? That what is one that you just go back to again and again? Again, you cannot choose Cabin in the Woods.
Damn you. I would have picked that one.
Sorry, not making it that easy.
You know a weird one that I feel like I keep coming back to is which? I watched that a few times now with people. It's such a weird. It's so eerie and so weird, but I like it. I don't know if many people have seen that one either, but it's like
I have not seen that one. That's not saying much for me though.
it's a movie where it's these kind of colonial people who are who are in America and are trying to grow their place, and they get outcasted from their community and they have to go live in the woods. And it's like the bad stuff that happens to this family, and it's like it gets really eerie and intense, and witches are involved and other things are involved, and it's like kind of it's intense.
What about it sticks out to you? What makes it one of those that you just keep going back to? Is there something either in the plot and the storytelling? Is there something about the characters? Something about the actual scares themselves?
I think it's just the scares or the eeriness of it. The music that they use in that film is just fits so well with the cinematography, and it's so eerie, and it's so intense. It really like kind of ramps up your anxiety. Like that one's one of my favorites. Like if you want something that's less of a movie and more of a good TV show that's a horror one, I also highly recommend like Hannibal. Hannibal, the TV show, is really good.
I did hear good stuff about that one. I forget. I think it was Mads Mikkelsen.
I believe so. It's one of those ones where it's horror, but it's very artsy, and I love the visual eye candy that it gives you, and how eerie it is, and you go in knowing who Hannibal Lecter is, and he eats people. And so, going in and knowing that he's making these meals out of these people and all the stuff that kind of happens within the show, and it's so good. And it's all about like it's because I love that artsy aspect of the show, and it's like some of the ways that they have the murderer set up. It's kind of like you have this guy who's trying to solve these cases that are being created by these murderers, but most of the time it's just Hannibal, and so he has this power where he can put his mind into the murder and try to figure out the case. And Hannibal has like created these like elaborate murder scenes that are just kind of very artistic and artsy. It's really interesting to watch. It's
yeah, the mystery the mystery is not who is the killer, because it's Hannibal. That's known from the outset, that it's the game of cat and mouse.
Exactly. It's good. It's really good.
That just from the description, I'm not sure if you've seen, read, or at least heard of Death Note.
I heard of Death Note, yes. I actually recently saw that The Simpsons made an episode about Death Note.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen it. I saw that they did a riff on it for the most recent Treehouse of Horror, but I haven't actually seen that segment. I need to actually look that up.
I think it's supposed to be actually pretty good.
Yeah, I heard good things about it.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that too. I've only seen little video snippets of it, but I love that they did that.
But Death Note itself, from the description you gave me of Hannibal, that it's very similar in that you have the main character who is using the Death Note, basically trying to kill off criminals, and in doing so sort of gets a god complex. But it is the game of cat and mouse between this killer, this murderer that is doing this stuff, and then the detective trying to catch him, and the way that they have their cat and mouse game, and that the combination of getting information about each other, but in some ways also sort of taunting each other, creating these, like you said, sort of artistic scenarios, and the creativity and the whole mind game of it all. So if from what you've said of Hannibal, I think that Death Note might be up your alley.
I actually have never watched Death Note, so I might have to take a look. I know my brother was talking about watching it recently. I'll have to.
It's only 37 episodes, so
really?
It's not a huge commitment.
Oh shit! Okay. I'll have to look into that.
And that one, it was one of the first non-shonen anime that I ever saw. So I definitely have a certain degree of nostalgia toward it. But also, you know, you look at the cultural impact and the longevity of the series that I feel pretty safe in saying it's just a good show. It's stood the test of time, and that I definitely think is one that I think it is one that everyone should at least give a shot. That you know, if you give it like 5 episodes and you know it's just not to your taste, I can totally see how it's not to everyone's taste. But I think that it has that combination of significance and also just genuine quality, in my opinion, that it's one that I actively say people should at least try.
Yeah, I you know, it is a classic, and I think it's one of those that it's kind of like even that same level of I feel like a lot of people should watch Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop is another good classic that I highly recommend people just at least trying. It's that in itself is a masterpiece.
Yeah, such a gold standard.
Yeah.
Like, if nothing else, at least listen to Tank. Just listen to the opening. Watch the opening.
Yes. I will. Okay. I'll probably watch it. My brother's.
Oh no, I'm talking about Bebop.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, no, watch that opening.
For folks who haven't seen Bebop, that they need to at least just watch the opening. That the Death Note opening is good. I'm not going to call it, all-time great, but obviously Cowboy Bebop, Tank, that again, gold standard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's just so good. And the characters are so good. And the corgi. The corgi's my favorite.
Yeah, Ein.
That's so good. Oh my god.
See, that's one of those shows that I look at and say, the fact that it did as well as it did, and just the voice performances, especially for being one in the early 2000s when voice acting performances could be so hit or so miss, that it stands up today. That's one that I actively tell people, watch the dub. That I think that, in the silly debates of, dub versus sub, I feel like that's the one thing that everyone is sort of united on of, just watch the dub of Cowboy Bebop.
Oh yeah. Well, I feel like that's the same with like Full Metal Alchemist too.
Yeah.
Like the Full Metal Alchemist dub will forever be the only way I can watch that show. The English voice actors are just. Oh no, sorry. Wait, yeah, dubbed. Yeah. Sorry, I was confused myself there. Yeah, no, watch the dub of that one. That one's good. So, because that's another one. That's another one that I think has really influenced me a little bit because there's some scenes in Full Metal Alchemist where it has that kind of motif. There's that one character. I think it was Pride. The eye motifs.
Yeah, that's right. I never even thought of that.
Yeah, I have a feeling. I got some inspiration from that.
Like, now that you mention it, I see it just. The dark, shadowy tendrils with the eyes of ooh.
Yeah. That's another one that's just so good. And I was always a big Hawkeye and Mustang fan.
Yeah.
And then like Mustang's whole character arc is just it's so good. It's so good.
Just King Bradley. Just that voice.
Yeah. And Armstrong too.
Pass down the Armstrong line for generations.
I love in the show too where Armstrong and the husband of Edward's teacher. Like,
of Izumi. The muscle sort of the silent muscle understanding of just they flex, they look like they're about to fight, and then they have this handshake and not a word is spoken.
So good. It's so good. Such a good show. I need to sit down and rewatch that. That's one I want to rewatch. That's so good.
the sort of offbeat suggestion that I give people, if you want just an absolute clinic for voice acting in English dubbing, is a series called Baccano. It is Baccano. It is 16 episodes. It's 13, then 3 OVAs. I consider the OVAs required watching because it brings everything to a fully satisfying conclusion that I think is better than just 13. So it's 16 episodes, not a big commitment. It is my favorite non-linear storytelling in any medium.
Oh, okay.
That this, if you watch the first episode, you're going to be very confused because it's hopping around 3 different eras. And that over the course of these episodes, you're going to see different things out of order. And as everything starts to weave together toward the end and you get the full picture and you realize what's going on and who is actually in league with who and why certain things are as they are, that it's so satisfying in the performances. It is a ensemble cast that did the whole concept of the opening is that it is showing like 19 different characters and none of them are the lead. That the opening monologue of the show is, how do you know, like, who is the main character of a story? And one of the core concepts of Baccano is that everyone is the main character of their own story, and that the story is the meetings, the interaction, the parting of different people in different circumstances. And it's so good. The one thing about it, though, is I say that you need to watch it within a week. That you need to start episode 1, you need to finish episode 16 within about 7 days, because it is so non-chronological. If you watch, episodes 1 through 4 and then wait 2 weeks to start up episode 5, you're going to forget too many details.
Okay. Is this the one with the train?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I have seen this one then. It's the one with the immortals, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I watched that. Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
It's so good. That was really good. I loved. Well, like you just said, it jumps around a lot, and and it jumps around between different people's stories and all that stuff, and it's just it's almost chaotic, but in like
it is storytelling whiplash.
It's good though. I like that. And the characters were all so interesting.
Yeah.
I like the 2 goofy ones.
Isaac and Miria.
They were so good. I love them.
You thought Jesse and James were hapless.
Yeah. just wait until you see those 2. Holy shit. They're so cute. I love them.
Yeah.
Oh man. So many good animes. So many good.
We've actually been at this now for a bit over an hour and a half, and it is starting to get a bit late, so I'm going to start winding down. But seriously, Vivi, this has been so much fun. Just, exploring your art, talking a bit of anime, talking a bit of horror, and just talking VTubing in general. That one of the things that I try to not intentionally do as a host is talk about design or broader VTubing, because I feel like there's a lot of interview shows that go there and they do it well, and I try to keep things varied, but sometimes that's just where conversation goes. Or obviously in this case, that design is going to be very inherent to you as a creator because you are an artist, and that is a big part of who you are and the content that you make. So since it is sort of an area that I don't get to talk about every show, it's very fun when I find myself there, and it's just been such a delight, stepping through all the different pieces. So I have a couple last questions that I ask all my guests. The first of them is, do you have any goals that you want to accomplish between now and the end of the year? That we have just under 2 months left in 2022, whether it be something metrics-wise or just, you obviously have the goal before the end of the year, you want to complete your next model. So I'm going to say, apart from that, do you have any either projects or pieces or things that you want to get done before 2023?
I think like you said, I think the big thing is the model, but I think besides that, I have all the stuff that I'm creating for the model debut. So I have not just the model, but I have like 20 new emotes that I've made. I have a new background and assets and all sorts of stuff that I'm making for the stream. So that's kind of the big project. But I think that's really the only thing that's kind of I want to get done by the end of this year. I think
To be fair, it is a very big thing.
it is a big thing, and I think I think other than that, I think it's just preparing myself for the next year because there's a lot of stuff that I want to do next year.
Oh, well, I guess if you are able to give us a bit of a spoiler into next year, what are some of the things you hope to do next year?
Yeah, I really want to, after the debut, I really want to kind of crack down on my commissions and really try to get a lot more VTuber babies out there and try to, get, more of that done next year. I think that's kind of the big thing for me is to really try to kind of do more of that. Right now, I don't know if they're still here watching, but Locke, actually, I'm working on a model for them.
Ooh, very
Um,
exciting.
and they're kind of the next big model that I'm trying to, get done for next year. And I have a couple other stuff that I'm working on, like I'm doing a new model for Red. We're doing a new Dino model for him. I have quite a few people on my wait list too that I'm going to get to, and very excited. I'm very excited. So next year is going to be the year of the kids, the VTuber kids.
Yeah, these next couple months are for you, and then it's going to be all right. I have made my new form now for everybody else.
Yeah, so I've taken the time to learn so much with my rigging and getting to a place where I'm super happy and comfy with the quality of stuff I'm making. Because I always just want to make the best quality for people that are commissioning me. So I was always super nervous and worried about giving that best quality. So I'm finally at a good place of like, yes, now I can give you the good shit. So that's kind of the big thing. So.
And then the last question I ask all my guests is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what is the definition of a VTuber, but everybody gets something different from VTubing. I've had people say, VTubing lets me get in touch with my inner child. It lets me be somebody different than I am in real life. I've had others take a more clinical approach and say, it's a tool in my toolbox as a content creator. It's a mask that I wear to entertain, but I might not have an emotional attachment to it, that I see it as a tool. And both of those, everything in between and beyond, is totally legitimate, but everybody gets a little something different from it, and everybody, I think, has a different approach of what they want to get from it. So to you, Vivi, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
I think it's kind of an all-encompassing reason of why I stream as well, is where I want to be a VTuber because it allows me to, one, it lets people see my work and have my work come to life and get people excited, which is kind of the big reasons. I want to get people excited. I like getting people inspired, and I want people to see my work and be like, yo, that's really cool. I want to do that too. And and I get so many people coming into my stream that just tell me that they watch along and get inspired with the stuff that I do, and it honestly makes me genuinely super happy to be able to be that for people. And VTubing has become that kind of outlet of getting people motivated and getting people excited and to create really cool shit. It's my selfish reason to get to really see some cool stuff being made, because I love that art eye candy. So
I always ask that question. While I never know what the answer is going to be, the answers always make sense, because even just from these past couple of hours that we've been talking, that it falls in line of, just like you said, that VTubing and streaming has always been really a big part of you as an artist, and that it's given you a chance to explore your art, show off your art, but at the same time, with you getting into rigging and making models, that it's let you just create and inspire other folks. And we've talked a lot about inspiration for VTubing as a whole, of technology growing and figuring out where VTubing is going to be going next, where we're going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, and that it all coming full circle for you in that sense very much fits for you. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insight, your art, your stories. It has been so much fun and just such a delight for me as a host.
Thank you for having me. I was so excited that I was able to come on and able just to hang out and talk about all this stuff. So thank you.
The pleasure is all mine. Before we go, who would you like us to raid?
Oh God, I had to make a choice. Oh gosh. Let me see. We could raid.
Well, while Vivi's looking around for for us to raid, I want to definitely thank you all in chat for tuning in. Thank you if you're watching on YouTube after the fact as well. I do shows about once a week. My next show, I'm actually going to be confirming it probably just after this. We're looking at it this Sunday. That sadly I can't offer a regular schedule. That I do try to schedule around my guests, but I have about one show a week. And yeah, that if you enjoyed this and want to see some more interviews, you can follow me here on Twitch and Twitter. It's just Vtuber Talk, all these places. But even if you aren't following me, make sure you're following Vivi.
Following me? No. You gotta follow me. What? No. I found somebody.
Ooh. Okay, who you got?
It's my good friend. They were actually in the chat earlier. Isabella Ooze.
Okay, fantastic. Well, at least I have their name in chat right here, so I don't need to worry about misspelling it. Yeah.
Yeah. Perceive? No, don't perceive me.
It's IZABELA, not IS.
But they could be, and they do art too and stuff.
Mm.
It looks like they're working on a V-Roid model, actually.
Ooh, how fun. Well, again, thank you, Vivi, so much for being here. Definitely hope to see you around. Hope to see you. I'm going to be doing, as I mentioned, a charity marathon in January, so plenty of time to plan for that, but definitely hope to see you again here for that.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. That's exciting. That's going to come up quick.
Yeah, it's weird to think of, we're about 2 months off from it at this point.
Yeah.
Just, ugh.
Well, it's the same thing with my stuff coming up too. I'm just like, oh god.
Yeah, fortunately that's going to be after. So it's honestly one of the things that I was like, well, she's planning on getting a new model after the new year. I could wait until she has a new model, but it's Vivi. She always has new models. If I try and wait for her to get a new model, that she's going to make a new one. So
I'm always. It's just, I'm always making a new one. It's
always improving.
I like to call it that. Some people may call it a unhealthy obsession or an addiction, but
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. These are not mutually exclusive.
I'm just providing fun content and quality models for you all to look at.
Yes, indeed. So again, thank you, Vivi. All you out there in chat, be sure to check out her streams. Be sure to follow if you aren't already. Links will be in the video description on YouTube. Again, this has been episode number 84 of Vtuber Talk. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to be going over to Isabella Ooze. But until next time, from me, you all have a great rest of your evening.